In a prison, police officer Green is preparing to deliver money to a high-profile inmate named Balam. Balam is held in a separate facility with his guards and enjoys luxurious amenities despite his incarceration. Surprisingly, Balam manages to run a drug-selling operation, engage in human trafficking, and transport weapons from within the prison walls. Balam remains in prison because he believes it's the safest place where his enemies can't reach him. In the next scene, new inmates are brought into the prison, and it's announced that they will be housed in the same building as Balam. Among the new prisoners is a former officer named Jack, who is accused of killing a fellow officer while on duty and robbing a bank. Officer Green intercepts Jack before he can enter his designated prison cell, delivering a punch to Jack's stomach and taunting him by insinuating that Jack is in for a tough time. Not long ago, Jack and his fellow officers committed a bank robbery as part of a plan to gather incriminating evidence against Balam and the corrupt government officials overseeing the criminal operations within the prison. They successfully acquired the evidence from the bank's lockers. However, their attempt to escape was thwarted by other officers, resulting in a deadly shootout where Jack's colleagues lost their lives. Only Jack managed to evade capture. As Jack eluded his pursuers, he sought refuge in a building. After a fierce confrontation with several officers, he found himself at a point where he was about to exit the building. At that moment, another officer approached from behind, threatening to kill him. In a daring move, Jack revealed his face to this officer and made a life-changing decision. He leaped from the building along with the officer, an intentional act driven by his recognition of the officer's involvement in his wife's murder. Tragically, the officer landed headfirst and lost his life in the fall. Fortunately, Jack miraculously survived the fall. Later, he discreetly left the bag containing the evidence inside the apartment of a reporter named Trisha. Jack entrusted her with all the proof of corruption and government officials' involvement with Balam. He also requested her to report the case to the district attorney's office. Back in prison, Jack found himself sharing a cell with a prisoner named Silva. During lunch, a fellow inmate named Semyon, who happened to be Balam's cousin, approached a newcomer and demanded security money. When the newcomer refused to comply, Semyon and his associates brutally assaulted the man. Following this incident, Semyon targeted Jack to extort money. However, before Semyon could make any threats, the newcomer struck first, incapacitating Semyon and his cohorts. As a result, the guards apprehended Semyon and placed him in solitary confinement. In the subsequent scene, Jack was transported to a clandestine prison facility, where he was granted the opportunity to converse with Balam. Despite the presence of security cameras, Balam sternly warned Jack not to meddle in his criminal affairs. He also went so far as to mention the gruesome fate that awaited Jack, similar to what had befallen his wife. However, Jack remained resolute and undeterred by the threats. During the night, in the confines of his prison cell, 3 of Balam's henchmen made a surprise entry and launched an attack on Jack. To everyone's surprise, Jack managed to swiftly neutralize the trio without even disturbing his cellmate Silva, who was peacefully asleep. Meanwhile, Trisha diligently conducted her investigation into the evidence she had acquired. After some thorough research, she successfully unveiled Jack Stone's true identity. The following day, armed with enough proof, Trisha made her way to the district attorney's office. She intended to meet with him in person, but she was informed by the receptionist that the attorney was currently occupied. In light of this, she was advised to hand over the evidence to Mark, the district attorney's assistant. However, Trisha harbored doubts about Mark's trustworthiness. Following this, Trisha can be seen patiently waiting for the attorney to exit his office so that she can speak with him face to face. She expresses her opposition to corrupt government officials and police officers. Attorney Johnson responds by offering her the use of his car and instructs her to reach out if she needs any assistance. Afterward, Trisha pays a visit to Jack in prison and shares the news that she's actively working with the information he has provided. Upon hearing this, Jack advises Trisha to handle the information with care and use it effectively. Upon her return to his cell, Jack encounters a fellow inmate named William. William suggests that Jack remain vigilant in the presence of Balam's men, citing a past incident involving Semyon. In response, Jack asserts his lack of fear towards Balam and Semyon. He also queries William about the whereabouts of Balam's cell. However, William informs him that the exact location of Balam's detention cell is highly confidential. This is a secret that only a select few prison guards should be aware of. In the subsequent scene, we are shown glimpses of a female prison where two female inmates are engaged in a heated altercation. The prison guards intervene to separate them. Shortly after this, a prisoner named Elena, with her face concealed, is escorted to Balam's cell. Upon her arrival, she is presented before Balam, alongside Semyon and other inmates. Semyon and his associates are there to extort security money without Balam's knowledge, while Elena is brought in for attacking one of Balam's favored female prisoners. Soon, Balam offers a reward of $100,000 to anyone who can eliminate Jack. William alerts Jack about the bounty on his life. Subsequently, a group of prisoners assemble to kill Jack, but he easily subdues them all. Simultaneously, Balam receives a call from District Attorney Johnson, who informs him of Trisha's possession of incriminating evidence. Balam urges Johnson to handle Trisha while he focuses on Jack. Later, during Jack's work in the laundry room, a group of prison guards attacks him in pursuit of Balam's reward. Initially taking a beating, Jack ultimately mounts a successful defense, defeating the guards. Following this confrontation, Jack exits the room but is immediately confronted by another group of inmates ready to assault him. Before engaging in combat, Jack attempts to make them understand that the prize isn't worth the risks involved. He explains that the money Balam is offering would diminish significantly if divided among the assailants. Realizing that the reward is inadequate for the dangers they face, the prisoners decide to step back and leave the scene. Meanwhile, Trisha visits her friend. In the following scene, Trisha contacts her friend Allison and confides in her, sharing everything about Balam and the evidence she possesses against him and the corrupt officers collaborating with him. Meanwhile, in the prison, Elena approaches Balam's favored female inmate, Kat, to apologize for her previous misconduct. Instead of accepting her apology, Kat provokes another confrontation and strikes Elena in the face. Feigning unconsciousness, Elena is subsequently transported to the prison's medical facility for further evaluation. After being examined by the doctor, Elena is instructed to rest. As soon as the doctor exits the room, Elena skillfully unlocks her handcuffs using a paperclip and pilfers alcohol and medications, discreetly concealing them in William's cleaning bucket. Elena then seizes an air vent opener and covertly makes her way into an air vent, embarking on a quest to locate the CCTV room. While navigating through the air vent, she meticulously sketches a map, eventually pinpointing the CCTV room's whereabouts. Following this, Elena retraces her steps and returns to the medical room, cleverly timed with the help of William. At the same time, Trisha pays a visit to Jack and updates him on her successful gathering of information. She proceeds to inquire about the circumstances surrounding Jack's involvement in the killing of a fellow officer. In response, Jack discloses the heartbreaking fact that his wife was killed by Balam's men, which included a corrupt police officer. In a subsequent scene, Jack stumbles upon a revelation about William, learning that he is not a genuine prisoner, but rather an undercover officer. Confused by this revelation, Jack questions William about the duration of his undercover work. William explains that he has been operating undercover for 6 months, and that his primary objective is to expose the corruption among the prisoners and government officials affiliated with Balam. He also mentions that Elena is collaborating with him to uncover hidden evidence within the prison. While William is sharing this information with Jack, the two of them suddenly come under attack by fellow inmates, leading to a brawl between them. Subsequently, Jack is incarcerated in solitary confinement and accused of instigating the altercation. While William is called to appear before the prison warden Blaine, the two recount their past encounter fighting against Balam's associates. During this meeting, Blaine threatens William, demanding more money to ensure his continued presence in the prison while working undercover. On a different note, Trisha attempts once again to meet with the district attorney, but the receptionist informs her that Johnson is occupied with multiple meetings. Surprisingly, Mark approaches Trisha and reiterates his suggestion that she entrusts him with the evidence. In the next scene, Balam's daughter visits him, leading to his temporary release from his cell for a meeting. William spots Balam and signals Elena to execute their plan. Following William's lead, Elena pretends to lose consciousness and is carried away by a prison guard. While being escorted to the medical room, Elena stages an attack on the warden. Concurrently, William and Elena put their plan into action. Elena covertly infiltrates the CCTV room, while William, disguised as a guard, heads to the control room. There, Elena observes Balam preparing to leave the visiting room. William unlocks Jack's solitary confinement cell, allowing him to don a guard's uniform and join the unfolding events. Jack receives prompt notice from William that both he and Elena stand ready to help him reach Balam's private cell. Jack follows their guidance, reaching Balam's cell ahead of Balam's return. Subsequently, Blaine and other guards detect tampering with the CCTV room. As they try to open the door, Elena astutely escapes through the ventilation duct. Realizing the limited time before Balam's return, William boldly opens all the prison cell doors, sparking chaos. Inmates spill from their cells, targeting abusive guards. Amidst this turmoil, Officer Green's escape is thwarted by Jack, pushing him into a group of inmates. Simultaneously, William and Elena engage in intense battles with numerous prisoners. Jack's attempt to approach Balam leads to a fierce battle with Semyon, who wields a knife in an attempt to harm him. Despite Semyon's vicious attack, Jack prevails and gains entry to Balam's chamber. Meanwhile, a startling revelation emerges as Allison collaborates with District Attorney Johnson, plotting to eliminate Trisha. However, just as Allison is on the verge of shooting Trisha, Mark intervenes, revealing himself as an undercover FBI agent hidden in plain sight as a prosecutor's assistant. Back in the prison, William successfully subdues Warden Blaine and other guards. Jack locates Balam, resulting in a one-on-one confrontation. Though initially overpowered, Jack summons the memory of his wife's murder, reinvigorating his resolve to defeat Balam and exact revenge. Shortly thereafter, a SWAT team arrives at the prison, bringing the chaotic situation under control. With order restored, William introduces Jack and Elena to each other. Subsequently, he conveys that his superior wishes to express gratitude for their collective efforts in dismantling Balam's criminal organization both inside and outside the prison. Jack expresses his gratitude to the pair for aiding him in achieving his vengeance. In the final stages of the story, the FBI apprehends all government officials and police officers involved with Balam. Jack is taken into custody by William, with the assurance of his eventual release. This marks the conclusion of the movie.